Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for coming. My name is Joel Christian Gill. I am the chair of the MFA in Visual Narrative, and this is our thesis showcase where all of our burgeoning cartoonists are going to give a presentation about their work. I always tell people, because nobody actually knows what visual narrative is visual narrative is what we have to call comics at a Research One institution. So it's basically just comics in ways to think about it. So I'm going to introduce the five graduating cartoonists today. And they're going to give you a brief talk about their works, and we'll have time for maybe one, possibly two questions, depending on our time. And then we will there's a thesis show across the street where some of their pages are going to be shown, so you guys will get a chance to see that. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce, actually I have to go into my phone and look like an old man because I'm like doing this, right? And pull up my notes. Okay, so first up, we have Francis Bordeleau. Is a Boston-based cartoonist, illustrator, and theatrical technician. Their work is based around mythology and history, and they are interested in exploring queer themes and broader social narratives. They enjoy vending at comic shows and conventions and connecting with other creatives and comic readers. Please give a warm welcome to Francis.
Hello. Thank you for coming. Let me figure this out. All right, so my name is Francis Bordeleau, and I have been working on a graphic novel called Enigmata. But before I get into it, I wanted to start with a little background about me. So hello, my name is Francis. I am a cartoonist and illustrator from New Hampshire originally, but I have been living here in Mass since 2018. And I enjoy history, mythology, writing, research, and theater, among other things. I am the oldest of four. That is me on the right over there, and then that is me in 2010, proof that I am from New Hampshire. But I was really into drawing at a really early age, and I have been making comics for around 15 years now. I started in the third grade with Fatty Cat Comics. So this is Fatty Cat Stars in Spring is for the Birds. I just wanted to take you through this a little bit because it's a little bit hard to read. So if you look on the top left over there, we start zoomed out on a bird in a tree, and then we close in on the bird, we zoom back out. Fatty Cat is looking at the bird in the tree, come down to the bottom left, Fatty Cat jumps for the bird, misses, is very sad about it, but it's okay because the bird flies away and Fatty Cat is happy. So yeah, really revolutionizing the form with the 5-panel gag, even in third grade. But so comics always really stuck with me. And I kind of went between comics and animation because I was always really in love with both. I grew up going to comic conventions and reading things like X-Men, Hellboy, all kinds of stuff, webcomics once I got a little older. I love to draw. I really loved writing and creating characters and worlds. And after I started reading comics, I kind of just decided that I was going to make a graphic novel someday. I thought that cartoonists were the coolest people in the world, which is definitely still true. But I just really love storytelling, and I'm sort of a private person, so what I love about storytelling as a form of expression is that it lets you sort of hide in the work a little bit, and I think comics is an especially great form for personal storytelling because it gives you a lot of control over the narrative that isn't necessarily possible with animation or film. So I was super determined to make it happen. I got my BFA in illustration in 2023 from Lesley University over in Cambridge. And when I was there, I focused on comics and book illustration. I graduated with the Senior Award for Excellence in Illustration and Visual Narrative, and the Animation History Award, which they did not tell me about until after the ceremony. And my graphic novel, Enigmata, has a lot to do with performance, and a lot of that comes from my experience in that field, which goes back to high school when I was working for my town's local cable access station. In addition to editing a lot of planning board meetings, I also started working lights and sound for some of the theater groups that used the town hall that we ran out of. That is me in the teeny tiny little closet office that we had. And also on the right there is a comic I did a couple years ago about working there. But being involved in theater led me to start doing some acting. There is me as Helena in A Midsummer Night's Dream when I was in high school. That was super fun because I got to crawl around on the floor and bark and all that fun stuff. And then also down there is me as Eleanor in A Haunting of Hill House, which is nothing like the TV show. It's based on the book. That was also really fun because I got to sleep on the stage. But although it was fun, I knew acting wasn't really for me. But I still wanted to be involved in performing arts. So and in high school, I had gotten a lot of technical theater experience, and so I kind of stuck with that. And while I've been getting my degrees, I have been working in set painting and lighting and sound and technical direction. I get to watch a lot of really awesome shows for free, which I think is really great for my creative practice. And comics are still my first love, but the performing arts have a really huge role in my life. I did not come to this program with a story in mind already. Last year, I was working on a totally different story, which was sort of like a prehistoric ghost story. But I hit a bit of a wall with it, and when I was refiguring out what I wanted to do, I decided to write something a little more personal. And although I sort of kept the ghost aspect, but I started developing a story that has become really dear to me called Enigmata. Enigmata is a supernatural, psychological, dark comedy about queer life, death, and dreams in small-town America. Pat, Robin, and Charlie are three childhood best friends from the small town of Sunset, now grown, jaded, and drifted apart. After Charlie goes missing and is presumed to have committed suicide, Pat and Robin are reunited in their grief on the day of Charlie's funeral. Soon after, they find themselves equal parts tortured, relieved, and confused by their shared mysterious cinematic dreams where Charlie appears. As the dreams get weirder, Pat and Robin scramble to figure out what's going on in their heads. Tensions start ramping up in the real world as the characters are confronted with the town's conservative atmosphere. Just when Pat and Robin begin to lose hope for both realities, they may just get a chance to bring back their friend. So going into this, I was really interested in writing something that addressed mental health and suicide, particularly among queer people, as it is something that is so relevant in our community. And I'm also really interested in the question of reality and the ways that the things we take for granted as real are often more malleable than we realize or are willing to acknowledge. And as a transgender person, especially so, because I think personal reality, performance, and authenticity are really relevant themes in our lives and our understandings of the world. Dreams and Enigmata give the characters the opportunity to experience being a part of a lot of different stories and to take control of their own. And with Enigmata, I also hope to explore these topics with the care that they deserve, as well as the weird sort of humor that comes along with existing in such a strange world as ours. So these are my main characters, Pat and Robin. Pat, on the left over there, is a burnout film guy currently stuck managing his father's motel. Pat is tender-hearted, but is also sort of cowardly, and at the beginning of the story, he's very dependent on his conservative father. Him and Charlie were close even into adulthood. Pat is a closeted man, and before Charlie's death, he had secretly been in love with him. And so he is stuck in his life and going nowhere. He's desperate to do something, but he's held back by fear. As his father becomes increasingly radicalized by the pull of his conservative news channels, Pat must find the courage to stand up for himself and his loved ones. Robin, over there on the right, is a semi-successful actor on the verge of their big break. They've always wanted to be an actor growing up, and after high school, they moved away to New York, like every actor with a dream. And although they tried to pretend otherwise, Robin lives for audience approval and attention. They want very much to be a respected actor. And at the beginning of Enigmata, Robin has recently come out publicly as non-binary, which has made it more difficult for them to find roles. What's more, they still haven't officially told their parents, and while grieving their friend, Robin must also navigate choosing between unideal roles and ultimately decide who they want to be. This is Charlie, the sort of nucleus of the story. Charlie is a transgender man who has had a difficult life. He does not so much die as fade from existence, which is kind of the key to the story, because in the world we find ourselves in, dreams function as a sort of state between life and death. And at first, this is an escape for Charlie. He grew up pretty poor, and his family is unsupportive. And when he graduated high school, he followed Robin to an acting program in New York City. But things soon went sour, because Robin was much better than him, and Charlie struggled both academically and financially. He dropped out and couch surfed for a while before giving up and moving back to Sunset. These are some of the supporting characters. On the left over here is Annika, who is Robin's little sister. She has recently come out as trans and is struggling with harassment at school and disapproval from her parents. She's mostly quiet and shy, although much more open with those she's close with. Her and Robin share sort of a dry, sarcastic tendency. Jane and Michael in the middle over there are Robin and Annika's parents, and Ed is Pat's father. So the conflict between Pat, Robin, Annika, and their families is what drives the story in the outside world. So I want to take you through the beginning of the story as we establish the world that these characters live in. We begin by being introduced to Sunset, a fictional small town somewhere in the northeast United States, inspired by the areas I spent a lot of time in growing up. And as we sort of glide over Sunset, we begin to zoom in on a bedroom, which is lived in, messy and unkept, and now empty. As we get closer, we see a photograph taped to the wall, 3 teenagers posed for a picture, Robin, Pat, and Charlie. So I'm going to just read through some of my sample pages after we've been introduced. Bzz, bzz. Hello? Headshots, Robin. Yes, shit, I'm sorry. I'll send them over tonight. And the audition tapes? I haven't gotten around to it. Robin, I love you, but I can't postpone this email any more than I already have. All right, well, I'm kind of in mourning here. You haven't been in mourning for months, though, have you? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be harsh. How are you doing? I haven't been reading too many comments online, I hope. I may actually throw my phone on the train tracks after this call. Haha, I have to go, but get it done, please. We'll talk soon. Beep. For Robin? The motel? Mm-hmm. And so Robin heads to the motel where, unbeknownst to them, Pat is working. He's editing a video for Charlie's funeral. Ring. Ring, ring. Hey, Pat. Oh, hi, Dad. Is something wrong? No, I just, Jane said I should probably check on you. Oh, so you doing okay? I know Charlie, she was your best friend. What? He was. Sure, I'm not getting into this right now. And I don't want to see you pulling anything at the funeral tomorrow either. Okay. See you at home later. See you. So that was just the beginning of the story. Things start getting much weirder from there. Pat and Robin reconnect. They start seeing Charlie in dreams, and they begin to question their relationship to reality. Robin and Annika bond. Pat learns how to stand up for himself, and Robin learns how to exist for themselves and not for an audience. Pat and Robin have a lot of fun playing all kinds of characters in dreams, and together they find a way to bring Charlie back. To close, I just wanted to say, in our current American political moment, staring down a plethora of anti-LGBT legislation and censorship, I think it is more important than ever to speak openly about queer life and to tell stories that humanize queer people. And towards this end, Enigmata explores the social isolation of queer people as its characters struggle to hold on to a reality that does not welcome them. It seeks to confront the distinction between reality, performance, and dream, finding these elements eventually interwoven and inseparable. Thank you. I love you.
Next up, we have Jade Rodriguez. Jade is a Miami, Florida Latino cartoonist who wrestles alligators and fights mosquitoes. A tired retail worker and lover of romance. Give it up for Jade.
Oh, come on. How do I do this, guys? Which button? There's like several. The arrows. Oh, the arrows. Hi, everybody. My name is Jade, and I'm gonna talk to you about I forgot I project. See, they're making me sit down, guys. I'm going to show you my graphic novel, Interwoven. So, like you guys already know and heard my name several times, unfortunately, my name is Jade, and I'm fat. For those of you who are thinking right now, you're not fat, you're pretty. I never said I was ugly. I'm not ugly, but everyone thinks so because I'm fat. So this is a young girl who was told daily that she was fat and ugly. Undeserving of someone's love. You can't love someone if you don't love yourself first, was the biggest lie people sold to me. I can stand up here, well, no, I'm not standing, I'm sitting, and tell you my artistic journey and why I love making comics, but me being up here is enough, proof enough that comics is my life. But the TLDR is, my mom noticed there was no other thing that would keep me more occupied than crayons and paper. Brats were not cutting it, and she wanted to be left alone. Like most of us weird art kids, we were bullied our entire academic careers from, for wearing cattails, for wearing other things and drawing weird, naked people in the back. What are you drawing? Can you draw me? I was bullied as well, multiple times, but not because I was the weird art kid, not just that, but because I was fat and ugly, because they're simpatico for some weird reason. And I was the ugly fat kid, undeserving of love because of my looks. I was undeserving of cute clothes, undeserving to be the main character. And there's multiple times where I said, I could just do this my goddamn self. And that's why I write comics. no, but I wanted to talk about something I love unapologetically. It's romance. I love any form of romance, reading, listening, watching. We all love those. The desire to be desired. But that's a fairy tale for someone like me. Fat people aren't desired. People whose skin is darker than mine aren't desired. People who don't have the blonde waves, blue eyes, and perfect skin are not desired. We are all deserving of love. And so, my thesis is a love letter to the little fat girl who cried every day because she wasn't pretty or skinny enough to be loved. So my thesis is a reimagining of the Roman myth, Cupid and Psyche. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to give you a little quick synopsis. The tale of Cupid and Psyche is a Roman myth about a princess so beautiful she scorned the goddess of beauty herself, Venus, aka Aphrodite. In an attempt to rid of Psyche, Venus orders her son Cupid to make her fall in love with a hideous monster. Instead, Cupid accidentally pricks himself, falling in love with Psyche. The tale is the predecessor of Beauty and the Beast, for those of you who don't know. And in 2019, I fell in love with the myth and decided to create a 4-page comic, reimagining it with a different tone in a contemporary setting. Beauty is subjective, and I would ask myself, what do you mean the princess is so beautiful? What does that mean? Of course, I can go into historically what does that mean, but I'm not going to tell you about the Roman beauty standards of when this myth came about. I loved this myth so much so that I even got a tattoo of it. So this is artwork from 2019. So let's get into it. Into interwoven. So Psyche is a fashion graduate student, sounds so familiar, landed an internship with the legendary designer Venus. I heard something. Being dumped on Venus's diva son, Cupid, was the last thing she wanted. What begins as an HR violation becomes an unexpected romance. Until the other gods interfere. In a world of fashion, fame, and Olympian drama, will love be Psyche's downfall or her greatest collection? Dun dun. Excuse me. Yes, okay. Next. So let's talk about the heart and soul. Psyche Reyes is an insecure 26-year-old fashion graduate student, a fat Latina, oh my God, again, so familiar, a workaholic fashion student who wears large clothing to hide her body beneath the excess of fabric. Psyche wishes to be seen for her hard work rather than her own appearance. Constantly being pushed around by the people around her, Psyche stubbornly holds on to the one thing she cares about, fashion. And now, let me introduce you to him, Cupid, the gender-fluid god of love and sex, a haughty diva amongst humans, a mischievous asshole, feared by the pantheon. Cupid cares about only one thing, appearance. From ancient times, Cupid toyed with his fellow gods, from causing affairs and heartbreak to the occasional love match. He's the reason why Zeus had so many affairs, guys. So, I want to also introduce you to the homosexual supporting cast. If you know, you know. Anteros is Cupid's twin brother, who is sick of his twin's attitude and decides it's time that Cupid got a taste of his own medicine. The god of requited love, soulmates, and the avenger of scorned love. there is Zeph and City, Psyche's sister and best friend. Zeph is the god of the west wind, and City is Psyche's eldest sister. Both are protective of Psyche, even if it means holding her back from her goals. And there's Venus, the antagonistic MILF. Venus, for those of you who don't know, is the goddess of beauty and love, the overprotective mother to the twins. Venus is a longtime fashion designer who has the industry wrapped around her little finger. So now it's time for me to read. I'm going to give you some background first. This is chapter 8, The Arrow. After the event of Psyche's internship, the debut as a designer, Psyche's creation has been all of the rage amongst the tabloids. They compare Psyche's work to Venus's, inciting rage. How dare they compare a goddess's work to a lowly mortal like Psyche? Venus orders her children to rid of Psyche the best way they know how. Use their arrows. How dare they? And so, here we are. The two people, are walking in the garden. Not me misgendering my own character. All this pettiness over a dress. It humiliated mom. Then fire her. Ordering us to use our arrows is beyond petty. She had it coming. What? I thought you liked Psyche. No, I don't. Psyche doesn't deserve this. Who cares? She's just a mortal. Right. So you don't care? What's with all these questions? I already said no. Cupid, enough. I'm sorry. I do care. But, thunk. What? How? Enteros, no. Psyche. What are you guys doing here? I want to hold her. I need her. Hey, good morning. Psyche. Yes? Get out of my face. And that's it. Thank you, guys. And I want to say thank you to Joel, Kathy, my family away from home, and my family. I wouldn't be able to be here without you guys and my peers.
Next up, we got George Zachary. George was trained as a painter. In the past few years, he has worked in the field of film, music, and art and design. At the same time, he has also been writing and composing original pop, soul, and blues music. Currently, he is working on a detective graphic novel and some other subjects. His art style is strongly influenced by 50s, 60s, and 70s American comics and manga. His recent work is a comic based on historical events and focused on indigenous stories in Taiwan, and express those topics with the retro art style. Please give it up for George Zachary.
Hello. Oh, sorry. Oh. Hello. My name is Zachary, and it's actually it's not my name. But I have a band. My band's name is Zachary. Yeah, more footage. Also, I'm making a comic, for sure. A comic about a song. It's always about music, for sure. Everything is about music. And in the past few years, we went to a lot of gigs, and with those wonderful people, we spend a lot of time in the studio making like all kinds of cool stuff. And of course, we've been listening to like all kinds of music. So from that time, the first time I listened to Taiwanese music, especially like some of like Taiwanese like old folk music, like in the 20s, 30s, that kind of music. So from that time, I've heard of this song, which is also the title of my book, Flowers Rainy Night, also known as Rainy Night Flower. So this song is by the way, I made this art, and this song is a super sad and moody song, and the first lyric means blossom in the rainy night, pelted to the ground by the rain and wind, all by my lonesome. No one sees my constant grief for the blossom falling into the dirt that has no hope of revival. It's such a sad song. And this song precisely portrays the fate of Taiwanese people under the rule of Japan. And they've almost lost everything except ability to sing. So I'm going to introduce my character, Kikuko, a very important character in this book. Her and her family's life stories are exactly like flowers in a rainy night. Her biggest dream is to be a singer, and everything about the dream starts when she was a little baby. In 1933, her dad Yata just came back to the tribe of Zhou, Alishan Mountains, where the indigenous Taiwanese live. As far as we can tell, under the Japanese occupation, he dressed like a Japanese and acted like Japanese. However, even like this, he never betrayed his fellow people. At the end of World War II, he tried his best to stop young people in the tribe from joining the Japanese army, and got punished for that. He tried his best to teach the kids in the tribe with his superpower, which is music. In 1945, the war ended, and Taiwan was taken over by the Republic of China government, which also known as Kuomintang government, and Kyuko went to school. Everything was new. People started to learn Mandarin instead of Japanese and Taiwanese, and wearing Chinese-style dresses became the newest trend, with a lot of hope and uncertainty. Kyuko's family seemed ready for the next era. However, after 2 years, the biggest conflict ever, the February 28th incident broke out in Taiwan. Everything started with a few cops beating an old cigarette smuggler on the street. This ignited a conflict between Taiwanese people and the army. And this incident also marks the beginning of White Terror, which is a 40-year martial law. And Yata and the young people of Seoul went downhill and helped the resistance, and they finally made peace with the government. After 2 years, Yata took up his most powerful weapon again, which is music. He wrote a lot of music to encourage his fellow people to develop the tea gardens, This move expanded the indigenous territory and made people have a better life, but Kyoko didn't know that. It would be the last time singing in the mountains with her father. After the government took care of the Taiwanese elites, communists, and descendants, they are free to take care of the indigenous leaders. In the spring of 1945, she saw Yatta for the last time. As a child of Yatta, even though Kyoko tried her best to get rid of the past and dedicate all to music, she was still living under follow-up and harassment by intelligence agencies. After one night, she disappeared. This is where the story begins. As a detective, Saigo tries his best to search for Kyoko, but every time he's about to succeed, an endless conspiracy is here waiting. As a Japanese born and spent 5 years in Japanese colony in China, Saigo was never accepted by any society. He spent most of his life, childhood and adulthood with disadvantaged people, and he was a very unique. He has a very unique and tough path of growing up. His multicultural and multilingual background made him a superstar in the after-war era. He always went to Taiwan and do all kinds of stuff like international business, translation, and despite those achievements, he still felt that something's missing, probably existential crisis. So now he's a self-styled detective, but inspiration of those pulp fiction he has read. Yeah, so this is the background of my story, and I want to show you some pages. Oh, sorry, the sound is weird. No, the sound is from the laptop. Oh. Huh? Oh, sorry. So, why this book? I remember the first time I heard Bang Chun Hong, which is another Taiwanese song. The lyric is, "At night, waiting alone under a deep lamp, with a spring breeze blowing on my cheeks. I feel like walking on the streets in Taipei, and at that time, I fall in love with Taiwanese music." In this book, I'll show like how people connected with music, and how they sing a song for Taiwan with sorrows and joys. And if you open up a book called Taiwan, on the first page you will find indigenous people. Since then, they experienced every wave of changes in the world, and they suffered the most. Therefore, it's necessary to tell their story loudly, and I want to present this book to those people I love right now. Yeah, thank you.
Sam Roberts, otherwise known as Sunny Shea Draws on the web, is a cartoonist, illustrator, and writer raised in Fort Smith, Arkansas. She has a wide range of interests, from fantasy to action to horror to mystery, and in her free time, she enjoys studying fashion history for fun and drawing Sonic on our windows.
Hey, that wasn't written.
In her future, she dreams of her graphic novel on shelves, a cute cat on her lap, and finally comprehending cosmic horrors beyond our understanding, all while in a cute outfit. Give it up for Sam Roberts.
Oh my God, the Seinfeld plant. Okay. Hello. I'm going to sit now. My name is Sam Roberts, and before I get started, I would like to say that I'm a yapper, so thank you for your patience. I have 17 minutes and a lot of words to get through. All right. That's the title. You'll see it again. So It Shall Be is my thesis project, a graphic novel in the works. But I'd like to talk a little bit about myself. As you've heard, my name is Sam Roberts. I'm 25 years old. I have no money and no prospects. I'm already a burden to my parents, and I am frightened. I'm originally from Huntington Beach, California. Then around 5, my family moved to Fort Smith, Arkansas, where I was raised for 20 years. And finally, at my ripe old spinster age, I found myself in Massachusetts for school and hopefully for many more years to come. Despite my travels and many changes in circumstances over my life, one thing remains very true. I've always been this way. Colorful, loud, and the real cringy definition of quirky. I'm talking X3 RAR on DeviantArt quirky. Much like my friend Francis, I too started with a young cat. Thanks to my mom's excellent skills in archiving all of the weird things her kids did, I still possess the ancient tomes I made when I was young. Kitty Adventures was my first story, several volumes, in fact, but it certainly was not my last. I scripted and shot episodes and music videos with my littlest pet shop and my webkins. I was the kid who insisted on making worlds and rules for them of games on the playground. My favorite was one about elemental dragons. It's like warrior cats, but dragons. I was heavily invested in Pokemon and all of the stories. And of course, my Sanrio obsession was something I came out of the womb with. I would spend hours upon hours watching Hello Kitty TV and movies. I played with Barbies. I played with brats. And yes, I would make them solve crimes or go through family dramas and kiss each other. And I was a huge Disney princess kid. Not to mention I've been in costumes and pretty dresses since I can remember. I played pretend. I gave my plushies names and lore. I needed to show off. But then in 8th grade, I left public school. I started doing school online, and from ages of 12 to 19, I needed to find company and solace in something other than friends in the flesh. I found myself drawn to stories that most involved self-expression, style, and being true to oneself against all odds. Winx Club was all about style and female friendship, the magic that's found in the bonds we make with each other. So is Sailor Moon, but with even more emphasis on the things that affect teen girls, like how much weight we should be, or what kind of pets we should have to be cuter, what kind of clothes we should be wearing. In fact, there's even discussion of what kind of relationships we should be in. In fact, I often cite Sailor Moon as the reason I am both a feminist and love miniskirts. All of these stories and more, yes, even Hannah Montana, taught me about the joy being your true self can bring, the skill that goes into that, and oh my gosh, my bad. I'm reading this on a tiny phone in Comic Sans. I hope that makes up for my awkward pauses. Yes, the skill that goes into that expression and the pain being rejected for who you really are can bring, from both strangers and loved ones. I was taught to really embrace my talents. What drew me to fashion and feminism and art, and thus these narratives that I hold dear and inspire me, is that they could do everything I couldn't at the time, express myself. I didn't get to wear cute clothes to school every day and strut my stuff. Though my mom is my biggest fan and loves my outfit updates now, she and I would get into arguments about my hair length and that I wanted to dye it a rainbow of colors. We'd even fight over shaving my legs and floral patterns and the fact that I hate showing off my shoulders. Still, she encouraged me when she could and learned me and my style the more I grew up and my mother and I understood one another. The girls in my stories did much the same, so I kept finding ways through my art and characters. I wrote a whole series of novels on Skype with my friend Julie, and my characters were rejected outcasts with something to prove. The same went for my first D&D character, Afinin, who I could express some of my ideas about gender and performance through. I found out how much I identified with a lot of effeminate male characters. I explored fantasy designs based on my favorite JRPG stories and fantasy webcomics, vests and buttons and plenty of belts, though as you can see here, it didn't start out that way. I made superheroes. This is Firebird, and yes, I was deep in the Spider-Man cartoon trenches. I wrote stories about gender and sexuality, such as this one, an idea about a boy who goes to an all-girls school in disguise to get into their top-tier photography program. A pop-punk idol falls in love with his female persona, and shenanigans ensue. I really fell in love with doll-like dresses and the concept of what it means to be human, such as with my character Dahlia here. It let me explore beautiful clothing, as well as my identity as a girl feeling doll-like and constructed, but not unwelcome. I tried my hand at something more modern, school uniforms, and hoodies and sneakers too, I guess. At some point, I even tried sci-fi again, looking at high fashion and taking interest in geometry. These characters, each with their own personalities, histories, expressions, and experiences, all need to fit together but still stand apart. They need to look like they express themselves. And I even brought specific foods to life by studying their origins and making designs that match. It meant looking at a lot of Wikipedia pages and real fashion trends. I even started cosplaying competitively and finding joy in being anyone and anything I wanted to be. Gender didn't matter. Human or robot didn't matter. I could be anything. And then, about 4 years ago, these 2 videos by Makara Tours showed up on my YouTube feed, and my life was changed forever. I began my foray into fashion history with an emphasis on 16th century through 19th century fashion, mostly in Europe and America. The more I learned, the more I realized that I certainly wasn't the only young lady in history, bound by expectations, both in the home and in society, on how I'm supposed to look and be. There were rules about how women should do their hair, were rules about what they should show off versus what they should hide, and what behavior was acceptable, especially in the eyes of men. Fashion is, like all art, inherently political. It says something about the people and the politics of the time, such as here in the 1920s and 1970s, respectively, when women were gaining and thus expressing new freedoms about their sexuality and ownership over their bodies. And stories about women, their clothes, and their self-expression became even more important to me, all the way from fashion icon Josephine Bonaparte, real, to the stylish battle garb of the main cast of Tokyo Mew Mew, not real. I was head over heels with what clothing and hair and color could mean for someone. These stories encouraged me and supported me from place to place, through a pandemic, through a move, and much more. So I made a whole comic about it. So It Shall Be is a story about a single mother seamstress in an alternate history, 1816 London. Not the most popular thing to be at the time, especially in the eyes of society. However, at the spring formal runway that year, dragged along by her best friend, she literally bumps into the man who would change her life forever, the spare-turned heir Duke-to-be of the Duchy of Brispool. They form a one-year trial basis contract as artist and patron, Phoebe and Ulrich respectively. Phoebe must prove that she's a designer worthy of society's praise, Ulrich's father's approval, and her daughter's future. Ulrich must learn that perfectionism and parental approval isn't all it's cracked up to be, and that the person to prove himself most to is himself. The two start off as business, but it's quickly woven with pleasure as their years of laughter, love, hardship, and many, many ruffles goes on. Phoebe faces a building rivalry with her closest friend Margaret, an enemy in top-of-the-field Kitty Radcliffe, and a romance scheme at the hand of her daughter Bridget along the way. There's sabotage, there's jealousy, there's also friendship and love for art making and the exploration of what it means to be an artist. So let's meet our main characters. Phoebe Lewis is a woman disowned by her wealthy merchant family for having a child out of wedlock, an unpopular thing to do at the time, to say the least. Having spent the last 8 years hiding in a basement the basement apartment of her best friend's boutique, she cares for her daughter and toils away at busy work. However, she's naturally gifted with designing and dreams of better things for both her and her daughter. She fights hard, to the point of illness, to meet everyone's expectations. Ulrich Beaumont, the heir of the Duchy of Brispool, wasn't always the heir. His older brother passed away 2 years prior from infected injuries after the Battle of Toulouse, a real battle in the Napoleonic Wars. I did research for this. With his only male role model either dead or his father, Ulrich relies on his sisters even now for guidance. As such, he is a man of detail, perfectionism, and great expectations. He will not settle. The only problem is he needs more than an artist to prove his worth to society. He also needs a wife. Margaret is Phoebe's best friend and the current artist in long line of successful Purdy's, spelled P-U-R-D-Y. She is boisterous and optimistic. Her vigor is necessary, as unlike her father and grandmother before her, as well as Phoebe, she isn't naturally gifted. She must work harder than her peers to succeed, something our next character takes advantage of to turn friends into enemies. Kitty Radcliffe puts the cat in Catwalk, and she is the hottest designer right now. Her dresses and occasional suits are based on desserts, delights, and everything else a young woman loves. The only problem is she's afraid of being reduced to a poor has-been, just like she was as a child in the slums, sold off by her parents. Kitty is prepared to climb the ladder and knock it out from underneath her to protect her lifestyle and her security. Bridget is 8 years old, and her occupation is child. Her hobbies include counting money, separating buttons and beads by color, helping her mother and Auntie Margaret with running stuff up and down the stairs, and reading stories about love and marriage. When she meets Ulrich and sees his home, she's determined to become a princess. How? By getting her mother married to that handsome duke, of course. Now, before I go on, I must explain the setting. In real history, Regency England was, to put it bluntly, very sexist. Men could do just about anything, but they heavily discouraged, if not forbade, women from participating in sports or other laborious activities because we are, in fact, the weaker and meeker sex. As such, women, especially if noble or head of a household, learnt skills like reading, writing, mathematics, painting, music, embroidery, and sewing. In my version of history, women were not satisfied being left out of competitions because they're just so fun. So they decided to put their pastimes to good use in the form of contests. Nobles and other wealthy people, of course, wanted in on this, so they started making contracts with artists, exclusive ones, to give them money, supplies, and studios. They also gave artists social standing. It's kind of like real-life patrons of the arts, but cranked up to 11. In other words, it's a lot like if Bridgerton and Project One Way got married. And then here are just some important terms to note. When I say arts, artists, and patrons, I'm saying capital A and capital P. So if you, a capital A artist, you are someone who not only makes money off of your work, but you also compete. A patron is just a rich person who sponsors you. And arts are any type of artistic medium that has competitions or competitive aspects to it. And yes, I do consider math art. So now I'm going to read you a little sample, and per the popular vote amidst my peers, I will be doing the accents. For some context to the page you're about to see, Phoebe, whose only interest is in clothes and designers, does not know who Ulrich is. She's been in a basement, literally Patrick Star under a rock. So Margaret has to tell her who Ulrich is, and that he is currently the hottest available commodity. Margaret wants Ulrich to be her patron, so she and Phoebe split up in the ballroom in order to find him and pitch him Margaret's designs. So this is Phoebe going on the hunt. Oh, bother. Why? Oh, he'll listen to me. Phoebe Lewis, is that you? It's been so long. You've filled out. I heard your brother took over instead of you. Did you hear Lord Andrew's wife is expecting again? Please, bump. Oh, Lord Ulrich, are you all right? Did Miss Lewis hurt you? Silence. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Sir, it's important to watch where you're going, Miss Lewis. You know my... Wait, please don't look! His handwriting is neat for a peasant woman. Organized too, in fact. It reminds me of an estate ledger. Written in red, with a sad Bridget face cut off. Couldn't afford it. Try again next year for her. Miss Lewis, what is your given name? Phoebe, my lord. Of Miss Purdy's boutique, actually. She, stand. We're going to the garden. Do not fall behind. Phoebe! There you are. What happened? Are you okay? Did you mention me? Well, I tried, but he demands he and I go to the garden. Right. Well, you and your work deserve it. Go get him. It must be fate. Thank you, Margaret. Sure thing, Phoebe. You've got this. This is an example of my pencils. Lord Ulrich, may I please have my sketchbook returned to me? It cannot be so interesting. I will return it when we're finished. I haven't seen everything yet. Be patient. Lord Ulrich, please. Your most used model is a child. My daughter, my lord. Sir, the book. Daughter. Ah, you are that Miss Lewis. A child explains your absence from society. Cut to these two yapping in the window. Does he not realize he's leading an unwed woman out alone? For shame, Lord Ulrich. Miss Kitty? The one and only. I'm truly shocked to see Lord Ulrich take any interest in someone. It has to be a good thing, yes? Now, who knows? But even if the great madam is interested, then it'll at least be good entertainment. What was your name again? Margaret Purdy? Yes, miss. I've heard good things about you. Oh, well, your family, anyway. Purdy lineage designs are quite beautiful, yet you have no patron and no fame like them. Watch them and learn, Miss Purdy. Learn what? How to get the hounds to take a bite of you. Please give it back, my lord! Slam. Oh, I'm sorry. I want you to be my artist, Miss Lewis. You are the least boring designer I have ever met. Sparkle, sparkle. Dot, 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 dot. What? Yes, you. Then before any discussion, I would like my sketchbook, please. Snatch. I have spent years trying to find anyone or anything of interest a duke cannot settle. I'm tired of the fluff on the runway. And you need an income and an outlet for both you and your child. You are no average specimen. With your work, I mean. I rarely see curtains or lampposts used as inspiration. Such trivial things aren't usually... Lord Ulrich, if I may, you are aware of who I am. I will damage your reputation. However, if this isn't a cruel joke, then I will think on it and let you know. Joke? You may send correspondence to Miss Purdy's boutique in London. I assure you this is no joke, Miss Lewis. I am serious about my offer. Your ideas and your family's expertise in textiles... You are more than qualified in this for your reputation. Thank you, and good night, my lord. Yes. Well, have a safe trip home. I look forward to your answer. And then Margaret calls for Phoebe in a voice too loud for this microphone. So, oh no, my phone locked. I'm doomed to see Sonic and Shadow on my lock screen. All right. So, why this book and why now? Well, there's the practical reason that romance always sells. Regency romance sells very well. Look at the works of Jane Austen, which have stood the test of time and gained dedicated, ravenous fans. Bridgerton, too, has made so much money that it's kind of insane. But more close to home is this. Look at the state of the arts right now. Artists are being pit against one another just to make a living, and if I'm being so honest, it's barely that. Corporations that once valued artists and their expressions are busting unions or are outright replacing artists with AI in order to line their own pockets. Certain crafts are dying out, just like sewing and dressmaking, for wasteful fast fashion trends that make companies millions of dollars but cost us and our dying planet an arm and a leg. I want to bring back attention and whimsy and beauty back to what makes all art art, the human touch. For Phoebe, that's with a needle and thread. And look at the state of womanhood, gender, and self-expression now, too, with conservative ideas once more being pushed on what it means to be a real woman or feminine as any gender. We are losing our sisters, our mothers, our daughters, and friends to expectations we can't possibly fulfill. We have died trying to be attractive. We have been ill from products sold to make us beautiful. We are watching our next generation be sexualized more and more at an even younger age than mine, and that's saying something. We have lost our identities and community in favor of competition. Not only have women always had to compete in the love department just to survive, but now we're competing against each other for success and in our careers. Comparison is the death of joy, and it's been pushed on us every day. Single mothers, plus-size women, women of color, trans and non-binary women, our youth of all years and more all deserve respect and just as much deserve to see themselves as lovable and represented in my books and in our media as a whole. This little girl shouldn't have had to grow up crying over her weight instead of a flunked math quiz. Her weight, gender expression, hair length, boyish phases, and non-ladylike behavior should never have been an argument, a shouting match, a rejection from family, friends, and peers. But it was. All of those things were real for me, and I wonder what I would have been like in a world that embraced me for who I was, as I was at any point in time. Just like Phoebe, Margaret, and Kitty, I am an artist struggling with the way my value as a person has been reduced to two things: my ability to work and my ability to be a proper woman. I have worked until I am ill. I don't remember a time where I wasn't scared of being myself. I was defined by my art skills, a glass house of self-esteem. And much like Ulrich, the approval and support of my parents, whom I love very much, but to be honest, makes or breaks my future to such a point I often drown in anxiety. Perfectionism expected of me in a role I did not ask for. Getting married, having children, staying and coloring in the lines. But despite my skill with line work, I much prefer the freedom and messiness of painting. Through all of my stories, including So It Shall Be, I want young women and girls, any gender really, to learn the same way I did that expressing yourself, being proud and optimistic and passionate about yourself and your work is the best possible way to live. Others will try to control you and command you like they have before, like they're trying to now. But the very nature of embracing yourself, and especially others, by being different, such as through fashion and style, is a stand against those who want you and I invisible, quiet, and gone. Now go wear some pretty clothes and read my book when it comes out. Thank you!
One more. Gabriel Joy Reid, any pronouns, is a writer, filmmaker, animator, and illustrator originally from Kansas City, Kansas. From superheroes to social justice, sci-fi to slice of life, they strive to bring joy. They made me read this. Knowledge and hope to anyone who reads their work. They're also the founder of the Sunflower Workshop, a new independent media production, art education, and publishing company. Sunflower Workshop is dedicated to creating and curating diverse, high-quality stories for kids, teens, and young adults. Please give it up for Gabriel Joy Reid.
All right, team, listen up. See this right here? Anyone know what that is? That's Kansas. Good job. That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. And while it's true that there's no place like home, something that also comes baked in with being from Kansas is we love sports. You'd be hard-pressed not to find a TV, on our TV, a game, Sports Center, a 30 for 30 documentary, you name it. Football, basketball, and baseball were our personal favorites, both collegiate and professional. And my family was seated every night in our living room for every winter and summer Olympic Games. Sports bonded our family together. Probably not helped by the fact that we didn't just watch sports, we played them too. My dad played basketball and football in high school, and he loves to recount how his greatest play ever led to a game-winning touchdown under the Friday Night Lights, and his head coach did not see it. My mom played volleyball and basketball and ran the 400-meter in track and field. In fact, she loved sports so much that she ended up majoring in exercise science in college. My parents also met at a gym, by the way. My mom was my dad's physical trainer. They're sitting right there, I'm embarrassing them. My family loves sports. And as my mom puts it, the reason we were introduced to sports so early is because she wanted to show us that sports were more than what just happened on the field or on the court or for entertainment. Sports are a metaphor for life. Sports were something that we could study to write our own lives with. The winning, the losing, the stories behind the athletes, the preparation, the dedication, the heartbreak, the triumphs. And thanks to that and these amazing humans, these people became some of the biggest inspirations of my childhood. But I'd be lying if I said that being in the Midwest suburbs, it wasn't a ritual to get your kids into sports as early as possible. And My older sister danced and still dances, she's up there. And my older brother played football and basketball. And while my younger sister danced, I attempted a series of rigorous athletic events destined to follow in my family's footsteps. I played baseball. Crack. I ran the wrong way around the bases. True story. I played basketball. Shoot. Rejected. I could not shoot for the life of me, and I was certainly not gifted in the height department. I distinctly even recall trying gymnastics. But I also distinctly remember much rather wanting to swim in the big pit of foam blocks. Perhaps sports just wasn't for me. Maybe I just wanted to sit and draw cartoons all day. But that was when I was enrolled in the sport that changed everything. Oh. That's right, real football. So this is me. I don't know what it was about this sport specifically, but I played soccer for not 1, not 2, but 12 years of my life. And this resulted in some of the most memorable and formative experiences of my childhood. Also, this is me looking very upset at a referee for some reason. I met some of my closest friends through soccer, suffered some of the worst injuries, and experienced some of the most elating triumphs, while also learning invaluable lessons about getting along with others and standing up for myself, being aggressive, being a leader, and being brave. But I also will admit that I was a really small and really sensitive kid. And I was also taught some lessons about toxic masculinity and bullying, elitism, peer pressure, and poor mentorship. But something kept me coming back to the game. And honestly, it was probably my friends and my favorite coaches along the way. But while all this was happening, I was also coming to terms with something else in my life, something that made me feel different than the other boys on the team, like perhaps I wasn't a boy at all. Something that made me feel really weird in my body, and something that I pushed really, really deep down until I came to college. Oh, I discovered I was transgender. Dun, dun, dun. So, I'm trans non-binary, which is just a way to say that I'm somewhere in the middle of boy and girl. And something that I never really had a word for when I was growing up until I came to college in Boston. It was also something that I pushed way down for a while because I grew up in a very rural, conservative part of the US. And I think a lot about how uncomfortable I would have been if I had come out in high school. I think back to my experiences playing soccer, a sport with very specific gender divides, and I wonder, would I have been able to find belonging if I was out as a trans and queer person back then? Where do we belong in sports? And that was the spark of my latest comic and thesis project, Offsides. Offsides is a story about 2 soccer teams, a boys' team and a girls' team, and 2 players whose love for each other breaks down barriers between their 2 rival factions. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet meets Bend It Like Beckham. So let's kick this off. This is Kamaria, a 16-year-old trans girl who is very good at soccer. This is Alex, a 15-year-old boy who's really, 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 really bad at soccer. They fall in love with each other. Aww. Chaos ensues. It's summertime, and teams across the state of Nebraska, yes, Nebraska, are brought to train together and play each other for the Summer Cup. Alex just wants to be skilled enough to keep up with his new team in his new town. And when he spots Kamaria just 1 field over, he gains the utmost respect and admiration for her and her skills. But not a crush, obviously. It's just mutual respect, okay? A chance encounter is all it takes, and it starts on the very first day of the summer soccer tournament. I got it! Alex here! That's yours, Diaz! Alex, I'm open! Pass! Dunk. Sorry, Captain! Keep it up, Diaz! Way to go! Way to go when he's slower. Come on, boys. Let's show some support. Good hustle, Diaz! Good hustle! Slow clap. Get ahead on that, Diaz! Yes, coach! Miss! Bounce. Win. Silence. Thanks, little dude. Well, there's always next time. Whoosh. No! Donk. Well, hit it, get it. That's the rules. Grumble, grumble. Don't worry, I got it. Okay. What a goofy kid. Come on, man, be nice. Bro can barely keep up, better yet, kick a ball. Ridiculous. Just one little setback, Alejandro. It's only the first day. Our team has a long road to victory ahead this summer. Now, where is that ball anyway? There you are, you little scamp. I think this is our ball. I'm really sorry. Oh, it's okay. Dead. Thanks. Awkward. Hey, Kamaria, you coming? Kamaria. Oh. Well, that was extremely embarrassing. Huh? She's really good. Diaz! Sorry! It's just the first day. It turns out Kamaria is a new recruit on the girls' team, and one of the only 2 trans players on our team. She's just learning how to fit in, and she's great at the game, but she has a lot of trouble making friends. And the pressure to live up to the expectations of her coaches and her parents is sometimes too much for her to handle. So eventually, Kamaria does reluctantly train Alex to become a better player, and Alex is a social, extroverted butterfly who tries to help Kamaria break out of her shell and fight her own self-doubt. It seems like a match made in soccer heaven. If only their 2 teams didn't hate each other. Historians like to say that the Brookside boys and Lakefield girls rivalry goes as far back as when the 2 teams first practiced next to each other. They may not play each other in official games, but they just get on each other's nerves. Pranks, heckling, heartbreaking. 2 coaches that hate each other for some reason. The 2 teams couldn't be more different. Let's get to the lineups. The Brookside Boys, a disorganized, chaotic, underfunded program founded by the city of Brookside to keep the boys out of trouble. There are a few boys who are really in it to win it, and they sometimes struggle to get everyone focused. The ultimate goal of this training camp is to bring the team together to practice over the summer and get ready for the fall season ahead, but mostly just to give these boys something to do. Some of their most notable players include number 9, Will Robinson, forward and team captain, dedicated and determined while struggling to keep the full team focused, like Ronnie over here, pictured going live on InstaSnap. Number 6, Caleb Crash Erickson, defender, smallest on the team, and who would gladly throw himself into danger to protect his defensive line. I played with one of these guys in high school, he's nuts. Number 14, Saketh Sani, who would much rather draw manga, really important plays, in his notebook instead of actually playing. And Alex, as we know, who is just bad at everything on another level of bad. We love him, though. And the Brookside boys are coached by Gabriela Garcia, aka Coach Gigi, a very kind, if not a little frazzled sometimes, 30-something, and the newest head coach and longtime assistant coach of Brookside United. The team has the utmost respect for her. Then there's Lakefield Heights FC, very serious, very elite. LHFC have been the undefeated regional champs for over a decade, until last year when the team choked in the semifinals to Sporting Garden City. The ultimate goal of this training camp is to get LHFC back in shape and ready for the fall season, as well as reinstate that winning spirit, whatever it takes. Some of their stars include number 10, Samaya Santos, forward and team captain, disciplines the girls hard, keeps them in check. Try not to get in trouble with coach, but you definitely do not want to get in trouble with Samaya. Number 9, Jillian Henry, a midfielder and star player in her own right, adores performing for the crowd and loves trick moves in the game. The team party is always at her house. LHFC even has a trainer, Becca Jackson, high school graduate studying sports science at Lakefield Community College, extremely supportive, very kind, and a bit overprotective of her little sister, Kamaria, pictured here getting super embarrassed. Lakefield Heights FC is coached by Coach Olivia Phillips, aka Coach Liv, the serious-natured 10-year coach of LHFC, and the laughingstock again of last year's season because of that defeat. If she raises her voice at you, you are in big trouble. And of course, we are playing full teams here, so there are many, many characters where that came from. And the two teams speculate a lot about what caused these two coaches to hate each other so much. But what they don't know is that they used to play on the same team. Oh my God, they were teammates. I wonder what happened between them. Back in the present, Alex and Kamaria train together under moonlight to avoid the speculation of their teammates. But as their love grows for each other, it becomes harder to hide it during the day. What will happen when these two teams clash? So many questions, calm down. Of course, Offsides is a story about soccer, but it's also a story about relationships, love, friendship, mentorship, and the fun of playing together. I also think romance lends well to the overall vibe of the story, one that, even though focuses on a sport that's typically traditionally depicted as rough and action-oriented and even violent, can instead be depicted through something that is light and soft and nostalgic, and one that exudes queer joy around every corner. And don't worry, there are many, many more queer pairings and characters to introduce even beyond the main characters. A story that could go on for a very long time. So team, I want to end with one more thought before we head back out on the pitch of life. As we know, we live in a pretty tumultuous time right now in our nation's history. It's rough out there when an administration is outwardly not only just not acknowledging, but completely erasing our existence. And recently there's been a discussion from the US government about banning trans kids from sports. If you want to talk about fairness, something that's not even a problem on a collegiate or a professional level, something that actually puts trans people at a disadvantage compared to their cisgender peers, something that attacks a mere less than 1% of the population, we can talk about that in the gallery after the show. And like I said at the beginning of this presentation, Offsides is all about answering that question. Where do queer kids belong in sports? Wherever they want! And the heart of this comic is the belief that every young person, queer, trans, cis, straight, questioning, of all backgrounds, ethnicities, and cultures, should have that chance to experience so many of the positive experiences that I had when I played sports. Just let them play. This is Offsides, a new webcomic and graphic novel, and I'm excited for you to read it very soon. Go get 'em, team. Thank you. And before I hand the mic back over to Joel, I just want to thank Joel so much. Joel and Kathy, both of you, without this, your help, the way that you built this program, okay? Without you guys, this program would not exist. None of this art would exist. Thank you. While my coworker gets back on stage here, also want to shout out all of our other professors. I want to shout out Paul Karasik and Sadie Saunders, Ari Grubb, Jill Grimes, Barrington Edwards, just to name a few. All of them, without their help, you wouldn't have seen all this art that you see on stage here. So thank you so much, Joel. You're incredible! And Kathy. So I think we have to get to a toast or something? Yes, so let's, oh, you got it.
So we've got to go down to the gallery down the street, 8:55. We're going to have a toast for our opening where you can see some of the original pages from the work. So if you guys want to meet us down there, 8:55 is just a block that way on the other side of the street. We'll see you there. Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it.